Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's live. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have you all with us, and I'm your host, Pusha. As part of our Build Your Career series, today we have an outstanding guest who's going to be talking about Salesforce OmniStudio. So before we begin the session, let's just share some quick tips for smooth functioning of the session. So the session will be recorded, and if you have any trouble, you can just revisit this on our YouTube channel. And if you are not able to actually visit the session at the moment, just refresh the page. Any issues you have might be fixed by the time you do that. All right, so moving on. Today's agenda. We'll be talking briefly about the Salesforce OmniStudio, its functions, applications, future scope, and how you can actually make the most out of Trailhead to learn about OmniStudio. And lastly, our guests will be sharing some pro tips for you to actually pass the certification exam. So our today's speaker is a Salesforce MVP, founder, technical architect, and a 21x Salesforce certified expert. Apart from that, he's also an organizer of PH Dreaming, C Dreaming, and Salesforce MVP series. Um, he's also a regular of Salesforce Dev Podcast and Trailblazer community group leader, speaker, and an exceptional mentor. I know you all are thinking who this guy is. He's doing so much. And some of you might have already guessed it. So without any further ado, let's welcome our guest. So today we have Joey Chan with us for the second time to impart his excellent knowledge. Hi Joey, welcome to the live. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me.
How are you doing today, Joey?
Yeah, doing really well. So quite busy, but definitely been privileged to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Everyone, if you're joining us now, please give Joey a shout out and let us know in the comment section where you're joining us from. So, Joey, today we have gathered here to talk about the new and upcoming topic in the Salesforce domain, OmniStudio. And we thought you would be the perfect guest to be speaking about it. So, let's dive right into the subject with our first question. Please enlighten us about what is OmniStudio.
All right. So OmniStudio is actually something born out of an acquisition that Salesforce made around 2 years ago, back in 2020. It's actually a company named Velocity. So Velocity is actually a provider of industry-specific applications. So most of us are quite familiar with Salesforce. And if you think about it, it's somewhat a generalized approach wherein, okay, we have Sales Cloud, we have Service Cloud, but it's actually generic across multiple different business domains or different industries, right? What Velocity is doing is actually building apps specifically for certain industries, namely companies like telecommunications, energy and utilities, public sector. They're actually building objects, processes, fields, and all of those customizations specific to those specific industries. So OmniStudio is actually part of that suite that allows the company to actually build all of those processes really fast though. If you're all familiar with screen flows, I personally believe that it's sort of like ScreenFlow 2.0. So what it allows you to do is actually build Lightning Web components without writing code. So that's one of the capabilities. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's almost like Velocity 2.0.
Well, I would say the most something that people would resonate a lot more is actually on the screen flows, right? Many people have built that, and they can see that they have certain steps. Okay, we have 5 steps, and these are the different processes that we need to make. It's actually doing something similar, but it actually is leveraging Lightning Web Components and Apex in the back end. So we have quite a lot more flexibility in terms of how we deal with it.
Okay. So it actually is an application or something which actually helps the devs work and speeds it up many folds.
Yep. So basically, in many cases, if you're doing something complicated, um, usually there's a requirement to actually to have your own development team or development person to be able to build the code for Lightning Web Components, right? With Lightning with OmniStudio, you can actually build apps without necessarily under learning how to actually code Lightning Web Components. So a lot of it is actually drag and drop. So being able to add a label, being able to add a text field, being able to add a button, and defining what it does is one of the capabilities.
Mhm. Okay. So which companies do you think can benefit from Omni Studio the most? Is it
Mhm.
just on the partner side or is it on the actual customer side as well? Which of the companies will be able to benefit most out of Omni Studios? And also, if you can share some specific applications and advantages related to that.
All right. So from my perspective, a lot of the benefits would actually apply on the customer side because these are, like I said, industry specific. So give an example. For example, telecommunications. They have quite a lot of features that are very specific to what a telecom does. For example, if they're selling, for example, an iPhone plan, there are multiple options there, right? I want 64 gig, 128, 256, 512, and what are the different colors? Do I want a certain feature like 5G and different components, right? So there's quite a lot of built-in components that are specific to telecommunications that they can leverage right away. So if you think about a typical telecom, in many cases they actually have back-end systems, right? So how do they handle their network? How do they provision their systems? So there's quite a lot of features already available within that suite in order to help with that. And part of it is we also have what we call industry CPQ. So it's also a part of Velocity in the past, but it's now renamed to Industry CPQ. Basically, it's totally something totally different to Salesforce CPQ that we know, but something specific to industries. So that's also a part of the capabilities of the suite.
Okay, so companies who require a lot of customization should look into what Omni Studio is and how they can
Mhm.
benefit from Omni Studio.
Yep. One of the biggest benefit is time to value, right? Um, if you need a certain feature built and it will take you 3 to 6 months to build that, there are actually certain use cases wherein it's probably at least 5 times faster or more to build it using Omni Studio compared to building the same thing using Lightning Web Components and Apex, right? So it's actually speeding up the development time, and at the same time, you could actually make it testable because it also has capabilities to like similar to unit tests in Salesforce for Apex. You could build unit tests for the components that you build. So
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. You know, it actually speeds up the whole process. So if a company needs to rapidly update the product details or add information, it'll be perfect for them.
mhm. Yep. One of the biggest things there as a feature too is its capability for integrations. Um, In screen flows, there is still a possibility if you were to leverage Apex to do some point-to-point integration, like you need to send data to another system or grab data from it. But OmniStudio, as part of its suite, actually takes it on another level. You could actually grab data, for example, XML or JSON data, and pull it into Salesforce and do transformation within it, and then process it accordingly. It also has built-in feature for your CRUD operation, meaning create, edit, um, create, read, edit, and delete, right? So a lot of the features that you can see within Apex is also actually available there. We're talking about being able to call batch Apex, schedule Apex, and things like that. So it is quite flexible.
So simplifying the LWC is what OmniStudio is doing.
Somehow, the way I see it is giving a chance to the functional folks, like the admins, being able to actually develop things on their own without necessarily having a developer. And at the same time, it's actually one of a great way to create mockups. Let's say if you have a certain process and you want to be able to show to your stakeholders, these are the different steps, and then you could actually create an actual working mockup. Okay, these are the fields that we will fill. Click next. This step 2, step 3, step 4, and 5, without necessarily saving it in the back end, but still being able to show to the user that, hey, this is what will happen after this. So it can also be used for rapid prototyping.
Okay. Wow. So OmniStudio has so many interesting applications.
Mhm.
Okay, since not many people were previously aware of the subject about what OmniStudio is and how it can benefit them, and you have already shared like a lot of different opportunities related to it, but if you can run us through the future scopes and opportunities in the field of OmniStudio, that'd be fantastic.
All right. Of course, this is one of those safe harbor things, but Omni Studio right now is still limited to the industry's customers. We're talking about communications, public sector, but I would say, bullish that eventually this will actually be exposed to the rest of the Salesforce ecosystem. Imagine, even if you're not part of that industry vertical, you'd be able to get these capabilities to be able to build Python web components declaratively, right? So I'm betting a lot on this future, and this is something that in terms of demand, I'm pretty sure would keep on growing, especially as they unveil these. And take note, Salesforce, as they're integrating OmniStudio capabilities into what we call Salesforce Core, meaning rather than using Apex as another layer, there are certain functionality that would actually be part of Salesforce Core, meaning it would run on the Java layer of Salesforce.
Okay. That sounds actually wonderful. So, Omni Studio sounds like a real deal with lots of interesting opportunities. Now, my question is how can one learn about it and what are the resources available?
Yep. Like in anything related to Salesforce, Trailhead is actually one of the best places that you could learn more about it. So there is actually a Trailhead related to OmniStudio. Just search for it. And one other option is I actually created a blog post about how you could learn about OmniStudio. I can send over the link in the chat, and then that can be shared across different posts. That I've actually created 2 blog posts on that in terms of how to learn about OmniStudio. And another one is certification guide for both the developer and consultant. So I just shared over the link in terms of learning that. So that link will actually bring you to most of the links that you'd need in order to learn OmniStudio. So it includes the Trailhead modules in terms of how to learn more about building guided experiences. And along with that is where you could actually sign up for a developer edition org um, that contains OmniStudio that will allow you to play around with it. And then different videos related to that from Apex Hours, from the Architect official Salesforce Architect blog, Trade Hub Live, Industry Summit, and TDX. So it's something that I wrote last year, but still so much relevant in terms of learning the basics.
Okay. Well, for everyone else, I've actually shared the link in the comment section. And please go to Joey's blog, and he's actually sharing amazing information there. And also, you always have Trailhead at your fingertips, and it's free for you to learn from it as well. So, Trailhead and Joey's blog.
Mhm.
Okay, we're sure after such a detailed explanation of OmniStudio and its applications, many out there would want to pursue and try their hands in the upcoming field. And you have already shared some amazing links and information. So, would you be kind enough to provide us with some tips, tricks regarding clearing the certification exam?
Yep. So actually, I did create a guide there in terms of the certification on the consultant and developer. Basically, I'm I know Salesforce is working on moving most of the other velocity certification over to Salesforce Trailhead, but right now there's currently three different certifications that you can get. Basically, it's OmniStudio Consultant, OmniStudio Developer, and Industry CPQ. So those are things that you can grab in terms of learning more about the capabilities from the velocity and being able to dig deeper in terms of the capabilities. And once you go through that, there you can then specialize on different industries that you'd want to focus on. It could be for the healthcare, it could be for the public sector, it could be for utilities, or it could be the communication. So there are different tracks depending on your background or what you actually enjoy. So it's quite diverse. And this is something that I've actually been talking to a lot of different folks within the industry, like different people like MVPs and people within that's focusing on the industry sector. Um, this is something that I would say I'm betting on as the future of how we build things. So it's something worth investing in learning as early as now, so that that would give you the edge in terms of having these capabilities early on.
Yeah, I actually absolutely agree with you on that. Because Salesforce is trying to move away from heavy development cycles. They're trying to ease the processes. So that actually for clouds like Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, they're trying to move most of the functionalities to flows so that we don't need to actually be a developer to have a proper functioning Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. And soon enough, they will actually promote Omni Studio more because this is reducing the overall steps to developing new components and stuff like that, and actually easing out the overall CRM process. So I'm definitely sure that this is the future where we're moving. In the future, Omni Studio will be a skill set which will be in a massive demand, I'll say.
Yep. So we're hopeful for that, but I definitely believe that it will simply keep on growing in terms of demand.
What are your thoughts on the latest changes on the Marketing Cloud side?
Marketing Cloud, are you
Now they
talking
have
about the
merged
naming?
Pardot and Marketing Cloud. Do you have any specific opinion about that?
Well, I actually, earlier, I'm not sure if it's last month, we literally had an event here in the Philippines, um, wherein we actually invited Ben Lamont to talk about specifically that topic about the name changes. I'll be honest, for the most part, it will be a challenge for many people to adopt the naming convention, but because many of us are already aware what's Datorama, what's Pardot, what's Marketing Cloud, and you already have something in our minds in terms of what it is, right? And I guess it's also just a matter of getting used to. For example, communities, people still refer to that. It's now renamed to Experience Cloud, right? Officially, we still try to refer to it so that people aren't really confused because not everybody is following all of the name changes all the time, right? Whenever we're using a new term, we people may get confused. So whenever we're talking about, let's say, like Experience Cloud or formerly referred as Community Cloud, that way we're quite clear in terms of the intention, right? We're not trying to impress people that, hey, I noticed that this is a new name. But the point is to make sure that we're clear, especially as we're doing quite a lot of consulting. We need to be concise in terms of making sure that the message that we deliver is actually interpreted correctly, right? So just minimizing those if you can. But in general, I understand that they are trying to push in terms of the branding, and as a part of making it as a whole, can and will create confusion, but that is what it is, so we'll just have to deal with it.
Yeah, let's see when all of the changes will be implemented. I guess for some people it'll be pretty difficult. Those who are not actually, very quick with the name changes, they might struggle to actually adapt the new changes. But in general, I guess the names are still pretty confusing. I'm trying to put my head around it, but it's interesting to see what happens in the future because Salesforce is always evolving. And the only thing I don't like in all of this is changing the names. Even if they're merging products together, it's okay. Like, just keep the names. It's good that you're merging Pardot with Marketing Cloud, but changing the names of everything. Now Email Studio is something else, Pardot is something else, and Social Studio is something else, and so it's a bit confusing. But still, it's the future, so let's try to adapt it and see how it goes.
Right, yeah, like I said, it's not something that we have control over, but at the same time, as consultants, we need to be aware of that, because the thing is, part of the challenge too, especially for those that are new to the ecosystem, is like, for example, for Pardot, you just need to learn. I mean, there's so much entries already out there, and Pardot is actually quite a brand in itself already, right? So being able to search old articles that still referring to it as Pardot, just knowing that what is the old name would help a lot. But I would say it becomes trivial as long as you know what product you're working with. It's really just a matter of making sure that as we're communicating it with others, we're still clear in terms of what it is.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation. I'm sure our audiences will take a lot of important information home and implement them in their career moving forward. So, a little something about us. We are Affian's registered Salesforce and Salesforce.org partner, and we work with some really noteworthy clients, organizations, nonprofits globally. Also, we're hiring for multiple roles. If you want to work with us, please send in your applications through our website portal, or you can drop us an email at careers@affians.com. Now we'll take some questions from the audience. So, our audience, if you have any questions for Joey, please send them in the comment section. I've already received a couple of questions, so I'll start with those. Our first question is from Erica, and she's saying, I want to specialize in Revenue Cloud. How can I start my journey?
I'll be honest, I won't be the best person to ask regarding Revenue Cloud since I haven't actually gone through that. But I'm, in terms of guidance in general about learning things about Salesforce, usually it's really trailhead first, right? Basically, try to look for all of the trails that you can find about that specific topic. And then the way I learn things is I usually then try to look at whatever documentation that's available. So architect.salesforce.com, there might be some diagrams or things specific to Revenue Cloud there. So it's actually worth looking into. And then one thing that I'll probably want to encourage is leverage the community, whether it's Twitter or LinkedIn. Try to look for people that are already doing Revenue Cloud and then just ask, hey, I'm trying to learn this. Do you happen to have any specific guidance in terms of what I can focus on first? And go from there. You'd be surprised. Many people are more than willing to help if you ask nicely. So just I mean, it's one of those things that small enough that doesn't take too much time. It's really just pointing people to where to focus on, right? And try it out. You'd probably be surprised in terms of how much people are willing to help. And of course, there's always that option of going through the answers community. And one other thing is you may also want to look into events around the world. There are still quite a lot of virtual events that's happening in the community groups. You may want to look for, and I don't know if there's something specific to Revenue Cloud, but it's actually worth checking it out.
Yeah,
Right? Hopefully
absolutely.
that helped.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, hopefully that helped.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you on this. Reaching out to people on different community channels, for example, LinkedIn or Twitter, is really awesome. And I was actually surprised to how many people are actually willing to help you there. So it's actually fantastic trying to connect with people, and this is one of the fantastic things about Salesforce, that people are actually willing to help you almost with every topic you might have. So if you're not able to find somebody directly on LinkedIn or Twitter, you can just go to Trailblazer communities and try to message people there. Whoever is working on Revenue Cloud, they might be able to help you. And especially with Revenue Cloud, I'm sure since you're trying to specialize in Revenue Cloud, you might already be working on the Salesforce side, and you might be doing a few projects on the either CPQ or billing side. So the best part about Revenue Cloud is so far they don't have any certification for billing. So you only have to do a super badge to be a billing specialist. And billing specialists are quite rare, and I can tell you that because it's been very difficult for us to actually hire a cool billing specialist. We were able to find people with CPQ skills. So Revenue Cloud is definitely something which will be like of real importance in the future. And so kudos to you that you're trying to actually specialize in Revenue Cloud, because I've rarely seen any female on the Revenue Cloud side. So that's fantastic to see. And CPQ certifications, it's a bit difficult, but obviously use Trailhead, use different communities, try to practice as much as possible. Um, and similarly with billing, but the best part is for billing, you only have to complete a super badge. So there you go. Just my two
Right.
cents. Is there anything else you want to add, Zoe?
Right. Yeah. Just thinking about it further, I'd actually highly recommend the series that Apex Hours made about CPQ. So that's actually something that you would want to look into first as you go through the modules about CPQ. The thing about CPQ, there are quite a lot of moving parts, so that there's going to be a learning curve, but that's just probably the first step. executing it in actual scenarios is a different level. There are so many complexities about pricing rules, the pricing engine in terms of the account-based discounting, and so much um, like if I remember correctly, they call it the pricing ladder. So depending on certain conditions, you have certain discounts or certain price negotiation or pricing based on like the bundle that you have. So there's so much moving parts there. So it actually takes a while to learn it. So hopefully that
Yeah,
helps.
CPQ is a tricky topic, I'll say, and I agree with you. So, yeah, Revenue Cloud is a bit difficult, I'll say, compared to generic sales and service clouds. But yeah, I'm really impressed that, somebody is interested in learning that. So, fantastic. All right, moving on to our next and last questions because I haven't received any other question. If you are listening to us and you have any question related to Salesforce, Omni Studios, or any other cloud, please drop your questions for Joey now. This is your last chance. So our next question is from Janani Venkat. She's preparing for PD1 and wants to know what are the important resources.
All right. It's been a while since I took PD1 many years ago, so I'm pretty sure things has changed in terms of the content. So what I would recommend in general in terms of preparing for certification is really focus on the study guide. Basically, make sure that you actually fully understand what each word means there and what each focus areas are for. And of course, along with that would be the trail mix, right? In general, for me, what I usually try to do is I also try to search for excellent blogs that's written about the topic in terms of helping me guide and create focus. Because in terms of whenever I prepare for the certification, usually I go through the trail mixes and then as much as I can actually go through the documentation because in many cases there are really small details that you'd probably only see in the documentation that may be relevant. So I would say focus on building that habit because it's actually as you build actually implement things on, let's say if you're on the consulting side or on the client side, whether or not you're in either of those, it's very important to have that habit of focusing on the documentation because that's the, in a sense, like the bible or the best resource that you can find because you can actually try to rely on blogs or community posts. The problem there is things are changing, right? That post could be 5 6 years old and it may not be relevant anymore. So just something to keep in mind whenever you're preparing for these things. And Salesforce is evolving, right? So it's releasing 3 times a year. So you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're reading is also up to date. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess updated trail mix and documentation, that's really helpful because and I personally found it helpful while preparing for my certs because sometimes you might miss a term and you will receive that in the exam question, so it's very much relevant. Sometimes you might miss that in the trail mixers, you might be able to find it in the documentation, so it's balancing these two is really important. And also something which I would like to add is, in which I found really helpful during my admin exam, was on the Trailblazer community you'll be able to find some study groups. So the best part is that a lot of people are doing admin, advanced admin, PD1 certifications. So it'll be easier for you to actually find a study group in your time zone, and you'll be able to practice with them and learn things with them together. So it'll be helpful for you to be on the same page along with the other people when you're preparing for your PD1 exam. All right, so we haven't received any more questions. This was the last question. That's it for today. Thank you so much for taking out time on a Friday and talking to us, Joey. We're very grateful to have you today. It was truly a wonderful experience. We have another exciting session coming up for our audience next Friday, the 27th of May. Details about the live are on our LinkedIn page, so don't forget to check that. And do not forget to RSVP for the next event also. Okay, to know more about our upcoming events, please follow us on our social media platform channels. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. Please follow Joey on his LinkedIn and Twitter to know more about interesting information he shares. We look forward to seeing all of you next week with the brand new topic. Come with all your questions ready and let us know what you'd like us to talk about next in our comment section. We'll make sure to accommodate all your requests. Till then, stay tuned. Have an exciting weekend. Thank you so much, Joey, for coming today.
Yep. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, bye-bye, everyone. Have a good
All right.
weekend.
Bye.